Most isekais don't need to be an isekai. You could remove the reincarnation, remove the other world, and the story would barely change. Mushoku Tensei is the one exception. And I'm not just talking about the seasonal, forgettable isekais lore. This applies even to some of the most popular and well received isekais like Slime, Overlord, Konosuba, and even ReZero. To be fair, ReZero does have that one episode with Subaru's parents that actually justifies the isekai angle, but even then, the overall story would play out almost exactly the same, even if Subaru had simply been born in that world. That's where Mushoku Tensei truly shines. Every meaningful action Rudy's takes is shaped by his life before reincarnation. If this were a typical fantasy anime, his past would have been ignored. He would have become another generic, overpowered visual film protagonist, and the show probably still would have been very popular. But Mushoku Tensei deliberately refuses the easy route. Instead of erasing Rudius' past, it forces him, and to him us, to confront it.
People don't just abandon habits they have spent decades forming because they are in a new world. Everything Rudius does can be traced back to his shut-in life. He's used to consuming stories, from video games to light novels, and in this world, those don't exist. So when he finds 5 books in his home, it's completely natural that he latches onto them. And as a baby in a medieval fantasy world with nothing else to do, he practices magic simply to pass the time. Anyone who practices magic for hours every day from childhood is going to develop an exceptional affinity for it. Rudius isn't overpowered because a god has handed him strength. He's strong because he put in the work early and consistently. And the story proves this logic holds up. If starting early is all it takes, then other characters should be capable of the same growth. And we see exactly that with Sylphie mastering silent spellcasting. Rudius wasn't born special. He became skilled because of circumstance and effort. The controversy around Mushoku Tensei exists almost entirely because of Rudius himself. There are shows with far worse characters like Prison School and gushing over magical goods, yet they receive nowhere near the same level of backlash. And that's intentional. The author constantly reminds us that Rudius is still a 30-year-old man from our world. The show could have buried that fact and focused solely on his new life. Instead, it keeps the adult inner voice, forcing us to confront the uncomfortable truth that reincarnation didn't magically fix who he was. And this isn't just true in broad themes, it shows up in very specific, deliberate moments.
One of my favorite things about Mushoku Tensei, and the thing that truly makes it an isekai, is the way it uses parallels. After the teleportation incident, Rudius' reunion with his father goes terribly. Later, when Paul comes back and genuinely tries to apologize, Rudius reflects on his past life. A lesser story would have drawn a parallel between Paul and Rudius' original father. But Mushoku Tensei does something far more interesting. It parallels Paul with a friend from Rudius' previous life. In that flashback, we see Rudius completely lash out at a friend who was only trying to cheer him up. The reaction is uncomfortable, but it is painfully believable. After that outburst, the friend stops coming over entirely. Rudius tells himself he'll apologize next time. But that next time never comes. That moment is exactly what we'd expect from someone like Rudius. Self-pity, avoidance, and regret that arrives all too late. Because Rudius lived through that failure, he understands what happens when apologies are delayed. So when Paul returns and takes responsibility, Rudius accepts the apology and moves on. Without that experience from his previous life, Rudius would never have reacted the same way. This is just one of many examples where Mushoku Tensei uses reincarnation not as a gimmick but as a tool for genuine character growth. Simply put, what makes this isekai different from other isekais is that this story doesn't reset Rudius' life, it forces him to live with it. That's why Mushoku Tensei isn't just an isekai that uses reincarnation. It's a story that depends on it.
More than anything, and this is just my personal take, most isekais make you wish Rakun would get you so you could escape to another world and live an easy life. But Mushoku Tensei does the opposite. It makes you want to actively improve your current life. Yes, in Rudy's case, his life only starts improving after reincarnation. But what matters is that he always wanted to change. In the light novels, we see that throughout his previous life, Rudius constantly thought, if only I had started earlier. Even on the day he was kicked out by his family, walking alone down the street, he told himself that if he just had one more month, he could have found a job. But he couldn't get a job without an address, and without a job, he couldn't get a place to live. Every time there was another excuse, another reason to delay actually confronting himself. Reincarnation took those excuses away. It didn't magically fix Rudius, it simply removed every lie he used to protect himself from change. That's why Mushoku Tensei doesn't feel like escapism. It feels like a second chance, but only if you're willing to do the work. Mushoku Tensei isn't about starting over, it's about finally starting.